On the subject of tactical voting, there's an election coming up on May the 4th, which is your local council elections. Now, I've mentioned in my video previously around voting for the Labour Party, which I won't be doing at general election, that I will currently be voting for the Labour Party at the upcoming council elections. Fundamentally because, as I said, I don't have any beef with my local CLP. I have beef with the PLP and Labour HQ, which is why I don't want to vote for them. But my local CLP, great, fantastic, full of excellent people. They literally cheered when the guy who was blocked from being on the long list to be a candidate for member of parliament for being too left wing. They cheered him when he came into the selection meeting. That just shows you how good the CLP are. Like, the current councillors are both pretty pro-trans. The Broxton LGBT advocate is really pro-trans as well. So I have a great relationship on my local CLP, and I will be voting for my councillors who are great councillors, right? When it comes to elections in this country, we have a thing called we have first past the post as an electoral system. If you're watching my channel, you'll almost certainly be incredibly well aware of how first past the post works and how much I fucking hate it. And this does not just apply for general elections, but it also applies for local elections as well, and for council elections within those local elections too. So, when it comes to first past the post, and I mentioned before, tactical voting is something that some people will do, where instead of voting for their prioritized candidate they would want to win, they vote for the candidate that's most likely to win out of the top two that they most ideologically align with. A lot of the time this comes from wanting the Tories not to win a majority, right? Wanting to kick Tories out of council control, wanting to beat the Tories in certain council seats, as they are the main people who, on a national level, have a very right-wing opinion, right? Or very kind of right-wing views. Because the Tories are seen as the blue team in these people's minds, and therefore they are the bad team. And I understand, actually, a lot of the times, I understand where this tactical voting comes from. I said back in 2015 and 2017, I would have, 2015, sorry, specifically, I would have tactically voted for Labour if I was in a swing constituency, but I voted for the Green Party because I was in a safe constituency, I was in a safe seat. So I think there is some merit to some level of tactical voting. If you don't want to do what I want to do, which is completely undermine first past the post by wanting to spread the vote as much as possible, but that's a digression. In the wake of wanting to tactically vote and to ensure that your voter power is as high as possible to stop the Conservative Party having control, during these local elections, there is usually, and during most elections, but during local elections that we have now, there's usually some kind of website that you'll go onto for trying to find out who is the best tactical vote in your constituency, in your ward, in your council, whatever it might be, so that you can have the best chance of maximising your voter power to be able to get rid of the Tories and to maintain a nominally left-wing control of the council. And that's what they've set up. There's a new website called stopthetories.vote, which you can go to, and it will tell you who they think that you should vote for. You just enter your vote in your area, right? And then you can use that to be able to find out where it is that you should be able to go to. Well, you should vote for to have the best chance of kicking the Tories out. Now, there's a couple of problems with this, right? I have Scribby, thank you, yes. There is a big problem with this. And that is that a lot of the time, the people who make these websites do not know what the fuck they're doing, right? Because fundamentally, right, when they had this website open in 2019 and 2017, it wasn't really run in an anti-Tory manner. It was run in an anti-Brexit manner. There were loads of different seats at the general election 2017 in these kind of tactical voting websites that would try and ask you to vote for the Liberal Democrats for no fucking reason. For literally no reason other than, we don't like Labour because it's run by Corbyn, so we're going to not bother actually telling you to vote for these people in a tactical sense to keep the Tories out, right? Because that's not what it was doing at the time. And it seems like they're doing a similar thing again. The second problem that they have with these is that they don't really take into account the trends that happen with regards to where the current national vote is in comparison with the previous votes that happened. So if you look at this archive here, right, Allsworth, Cossell and Trowell want you to vote for the Liberal Democrats, right? You actually look at the last result, the Liberal Democrats finished in second and were like 30 votes ahead of Labour. So it wasn't obviously a huge difference in vote, but what they wanted you to do was vote for the Liberal Democrats because they came in second. And say, well, if they're in second, it seems reasonable to want to vote for them to be able to take care of the Tories there. That doesn't take into account the fact that the Tories are way down and the Labour Party are way up in the polls, right? And their vote increase compared to the Liberal Democrat vote increase actually means that if I was looking at this, I would think the Labour Party would actually have a better chance of beating the Conservatives in this particular constituency, because the rate at which Labour are gaining votes is quicker than the vote that Liberal Democrats are gaining votes. So by using this website in a time at which people who aren't engaged with the tactical voting style stuff are now voting for Labour Party instead of the Conservative Party, you're actually doing more vote splitting by following this website than you would be if you just voted for the candidate that you wanted. For example, you look in 2015, there was a Lib Dem that did really well at this election because he was a local candidate that everybody knew. But you look at the second Lib Dem, right at the bottom of the list, behind UKIP and the Labour Party, showing you that it's not about party affiliation that led to this particular spread. It was people who was being known for certain policies in the area, and that the closest second seat candidate in this particular election was Labour and not the Liberal Democrats, outside of the Conservative Party. So it doesn't actually really functionally give you a good tactical vote, even on its own grounds, right? On its own grounds, to try and get you to unseat the Conservative councillors. It doesn't even give you the right vote to give you the best way of doing that, and might actually lead you to put more Conservative councillors into power by actually splitting the votes between Labour and the Liberal Democrats. The Lib Dems set up these fake tactical voting sites, and whatever you put in, they'll just tell you to vote Lib Dem. Oh, they do, and the Progressive Alliance type grifters who think that this is somehow their way of getting more people to move over to the Liberal Democrats rather than voting for the Labour Party, they always get involved with these kind of things, especially when Brexit was a massive issue, because Liberal Democrats are very pro-Remain, and the Labour Party take a more kind of tactical view on the issue of Brexit at the time. And so yeah, I would tell people to vote Labour in this constituency. There's a second reason as well why it's nonsense for them to try and get you to vote Liberal Democrats over Labour in these constituencies just to beat the Tories, and that's because Liberal Democrat councillors are fucking garbage. They're rubbish. They're awful. Like we saw at PMQs last week, where there were Liberal Democrat and Labour MPs in the Commons arguing with each other about who is the best at stopping new housing projects. The Liberal Democrats are just as fucking bourgeois, just as fucking entrenched into the needs of middle class people as the Conservative Party are. They're just a little bit nicer on social policy. Like Liberal Democrat councils are fucking shit. They run against the Conservative Party from the right in a lot of council seats, specifically to stop new housing developments, to play into the voting needs of posh wankers with expensive mortgages who don't want to see their property prices depreciate. They're awful councillors, right? You should never vote for the Liberal Democrats ever for anything, because they suck, unless you really need to get out a Tory MP in an election, because actually the parliamentary Liberal Democrats are way better than their councillors, like absolutely leaps and bounds ahead of their councillors. The councillors are the absolute dirt worst when it comes to the Liberal Democrats. The Lib Dems are only progressive until it hurts their pockets or the pockets of the people that elect them. 100% correct. They're not a progressive party when it comes to council scales. So I would, there's a difference between voting tactically for the Liberal Democrats on a parliamentary level and vote where you really do need to make sure that at least on some level, that you're not just voting for a party for no reason. And on a council level where you're just putting bellends in charge of a council that might as well be Conservative at that point. Or could be even more right-wing than the Conservatives on a lot of the kind of local planning policies. Because when it comes to social policy, your councillors really don't really matter that much, to be fair. They are just mostly concerned with planning as a huge part of how councils operate. And do you think the Liberal Democrats are giving you more council houses? Are they? Fuck. The only people are going to give you that are the Greens or the Labour Party. Because, again, the constituency Labour parties, the councillors that you get, are way more progressive than the PLP, which is the opposite way around from the Liberal Democrats. So, no, you should just stop voting Liberal Democrat for council elections. It's just bad. Don't do it. They're awful. Support Labour or Green instead. Because not only will these tactical voting websites tell you to vote for bad people, they will also not tell you to vote for them with any kind of utility whatsoever. There's a second thing, right, that this website will do, and that it will deliberately undermine what's the Green Party's chances in certain seats, for example. So Stats for Lefties did a really good job of breaking down the kind of stuff that they'll do here. So in Brighton, there isn't a single ward where they recommend a Green Party vote, despite them being the largest party on the council. You see that literally no recommendations for Green Party elections in Brighton and Hove wards. None at all, despite them being the largest one on the council. And despite the fact that they're anti-Brexit as a party. You look at Norwich, where there isn't a single Tory on the council and the main opposition to the Greens. The website recommending voting Labour in the 5 of the 13 wards, but doesn't recommend voting Green in any of them. And in Lancaster, despite the Greens literally leading the council, the website recommends voting Green in just 2 of the 27 wards. Incredible. Genuinely incredible. That they just seem to forget that the Green Party exists, despite them being probably the most progressive when it comes to council elections. Although it does depend on what your constituency Green Party is like. There are actually a lot of Labour councils that are probably more progressive than the Greens on things like planning issues, for example, because Greens will get caught up in a bunch of kind of environmental stuff that will stop them from wanting to give permission or give credence to new planning proposals, which is obviously bad for local working class communities sometimes. But they're also good on environmental things. And also there are a lot of local Green parties that are really turfy. You've got to understand and know your Green councillors before you vote for them over the Labour Party. But this is the website again, and all of these things where they should be recommending you to vote for the Greens, they just completely fucking ignore them. Completely ignore them, because again, they're too progressive, they're too left-wing. And so this vote is so in summary, this website's garbage. You shouldn't use this website. Just find out who in your council is the most progressive, right? If you're green, your local Green candidates are TERFs, don't vote for them, vote Labour. And if Green Party have no support, vote for Labour as well. But if obviously in these councils that stats for lefties has just showed there, if the Green Party are the main opposition, which they're becoming far more of the time, you look at places like the North East, where the Greens making gains, places like Nottingham, places like Brighton, places like Bristol, where the Green Party has really strong footholds in council elections, you should vote for the Green Party if they're not too turfy. Otherwise, you should be voting Labour. Because again, with the large swings we're seeing towards the Labour vote on a national level, just saying, oh, well, the Liberal Democrats were the main opposition last time, meaning we should vote for them tactically, is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense, because you don't know. You can't predict how the rest of the votes are going to change given the swing from Conservative to Labour, which ignores the Liberal Democrats. So it's bad. It's bad statistically, it's bad tactically, and it's bad ideologically. And on some cases, it's just completely wrong about who you should vote for, because they just don't want you to vote for the Green Party. So ignore this website. Don't use it. It's shit. What you should do is you should go to the local elections archive project, which is andrewteal.me.uk, which will give you a rough idea of all of the different kind of wards that you've got. 8 out of councils. You can go find out what previous elections will look like, see who is a good challenger in your area rather than relying on someone else to do the thinking for you. Look at the overall state of how the vote is going on a national level, and then make your vote based upon that for the Labour Party or for the Green Party. Right? That's what you should be doing. Go to this website, ignore this to share, ignore this, and go to the actual stats and engage your own brain rather than letting ideologically captured people do that for you.